Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I am the spiritual leader here at the CSL Ocala. Oak Brook Center for Spiritual Living. The name is changing now to CSL Ocala, so there's still kind of a little bit of both out there. So anyway, we will get started. Peace through principle. If you were here last week, you all know that I was taking a trip. Okay, it's not one. Again, there we go. All right. So yes, I was taking a trip. We had a ministers' gathering this past week in Dallas, Texas, which is one of the larger centers that we have in our movement. So it's a wonderful time. I had a threefold, three things I was going to do while I was there. Number one, it was the gathering. It was a chance for me to be in my tribe. Now, you all are my tribe, but when I'm with the ministers, it's the tribe within the tribe, if you get what I mean, right? It's the people, we all do the same thing, we have the similar challenges, all of that. So I was very excited to have some time to be with my peers. And I was going to also be delivering a workshop on peace-building principles and the things that we've been doing here at our center, some of our outreach, some things that I'm really super excited about. And I was thrilled when I picked up this latest issue of the Science of Mind magazine, and it's got the leader of our movement on the cover, and it says, "Living as a Peace Center."
Oh, wow.
It was like, wow, you know, all of the pieces, like the universe is conspiring. I'm going to talk about peace. Here's the leader of the movement on the cover, be a peace center. I was so excited. Everything is falling in place, right? The last piece of it was that I was there for my ordination panel. Now, in some denominations, when you graduate, you do your program, you're ordained automatically. In our movement, it takes a minimum of 3 years to be ordained. And you have to be in a pulpit, you have to show that you've done so many ceremonies, and that you really have the consciousness and the commitment of a minister. It's kind of like we all have been living together, living in sin. And the ordination ceremony is like, we're putting a ring on it, okay? This is our commitment. So I was excited about that too, you know, I've been waiting like this is, you know, the next step for me. And it doesn't really change anything that I do here at the center. It does allow me to do other things within the larger community. I can teach, I can serve in different leadership positions, so on and so forth. So as the schedule was coming out, I was looking at and realized, okay, it's a week before this big event, and I haven't heard anything about the schedule. I don't even know if I'm on it. Am I actually going to have my panel? So I start making phone calls and find out, well, no, you're not on the schedule because your application was incomplete. What do you mean my application was incomplete? I went through the checklist, everything was there. Anyway, a couple little minor things, got the application done. They were still saying, sorry, there's no room for you on the schedule because we've already made it up. You know, it's there, we've only got so many people, so many blocks of time, no room for you. So I thought, and I shared all this, right? Y'all remember hearing this story? And I know if it's mine to do, if it's supposed to happen, something magical is going to happen. And either I will have a great story about this ordination thing and how it all came together, or I'll be paneling it another time. So I let it go. Next thing you know, I get a call just before, this was just a few days before leaving for Dallas. You're on the schedule. Be there at 3 o'clock. All right. So I get on my flight Monday morning, get to Dallas about 1:30, 2 o'clock, go straight to the center to walk into my ordination panel. And they asked me questions very similar to when I finished the program, when I graduated. Just to be a licensed minister, you go through a panel as well. So I kind of knew, I thought I knew what to expect. And an hour into my interview, I started realizing, wow, this is really going off the rails here. So they asked me to leave the room, they have their discussion, they want to bring me back in, they asked me some more questions, and then the final decision after all of that, after we're now at 2 hours, and registration is happening, everybody's getting there for the rest of our gathering, people are milling around, and I get pulled back into the room, and they say, we would like for you to panel again in 6 months to a year. I was like, what? Excuse me? I didn't pass my panel. basically, right? I didn't pass my panel. There were a dozen people that paneled that day, and I was the only one that didn't pass my panel. Really? Yeah, I was like that, like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm sitting there in this disbelief. I won't tell you all the expletives that went through my mind. But it was just like unfathomable, you know. And the first thing I want to do is just curl up in a ball and cry. Like, I can't believe this is happening. The last place I want to be is with any of you people. I want to go home. I called my husband. He says, "You want to get on a flight? Come on home." I called some friends. "We're there for you." Everybody's kind of rallying around me, and I just can't freaking believe this. And I have to put on a seminar the next morning. So I've got to get my head together pretty quickly. And now the gathering has started. And we always start out with a big community event. And CSL Dallas is much larger than this. I think their sanctuary seats, I don't know, maybe 500 or something. There weren't that many people there. But at any rate, we're all together and we start this ceremony. And we started with a visioning process. And some of you who've been here for a little bit know what visioning is. Now, what visioning is, it's a spiritual practice that we use in Centers for Spiritual Living. It's not like envisioning, where, you know, if you all are familiar with things like law of attraction and stuff, you kind of sit and you imagine, this is what I would like to see for myself. And then you sit in that imagination and you see what comes, and you write things down, and, you know, that's it's not visioning. It's not visioning. Because in visioning, what you do is you sit in prayer and meditation and try to catch the larger vision of what Spirit might have for you. You're not putting things into the field saying, I want this, that, and the other. What you do is you open yourself up to the larger mind, to the God mind, and you say, what would Spirit have me do? And there's a series of questions that go with that. So the first question is, what is the vision? And I'm sitting there in this group of people in my tears, and I've got my mentor, one of my mentors on one side, and I have a dear friend on the other side, and I'm just like, I can't even believe this has happened. I'm sobbing. What's your vision? I don't have a freaking vision. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what all of this is about. I thought I knew what my vision was. Apparently it was wrong, and all of that stuff in my head. That's the first question, so I don't have any answer for that. The next question is, what must you release? What do you have to release so that you can embody whatever your vision is? And just write a word down. That was the instruction. We got these little slips of paper. They're really cool. When you put them in water, they disappear. Have you seen that? It's really neat. We'll have to do it for a ceremony sometime. So they say, write your word on a piece of paper. Well, I'm like, I have a freaking volume for you. And it starts with, I need to release this anger that I'm feeling. I need to release the hurt, the pain. I'm sitting, you know, I'm still like, oh my God, this has been my life. This work has been my life for years now. And for the past 3 years, I work my tail off. And I don't say that like in a martyr kind of way. I love what I do. I love what I do. I get up in the morning and like, I get to change people's lives. I get to do this incredible work. People share their stories with me, their pains, their hopes, their dreams, their drama, all of that. I get to do that, and I love it. I love it. So the idea that my commitment was in question, that my consciousness might be in question, that was very, very painful for me. So as I'm sitting there writing down on this little slip of paper as many words as I can put on it, I need to release anger, I need to release my sadness, and then I'm thinking about what I've just been teaching for the whole past month and months, which was all about release. You all think I'm teaching this stuff for you. What I didn't realize was I was exercising my spiritual muscle and what I was going to need to release and what I know to do. So number 1, releasing attachment to outcome. Yes. Okay, this looks a certain way. It doesn't look like what I thought it was going to look like. It doesn't look like what I think it should look like. And I need to be able to let that go. Releasing attachment to the outcome. Next thing I need to release is my resistance to what is so. Because the fact is, I got to come back next year or 6 months or whatever. I'm not going to change that. It's not going to change. I have to accept that that's what is. So, releasing resistance to the facts of the matter in the situation I was in. I could bitch and moan and cry and whatever. It wasn't going to change the fact that I didn't pass that panel. Release resistance. The last thing, releasing judgment. Oh, that was a good one. Release judgment on the people who were in the room. I'm going to release judgment on the bigger picture of things, but mostly I need to release judgment of myself. And whatever thing I must have said that derailed this process, whatever happened, I need to release that judgment. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I just know that I need to do it. So I write all this stuff on this little silver paper, and I go up and I put it in the bowl of water, and it swirls away, and I go and I sit down in my seat again. The next question is, what must I embrace to empower this vision? And I sat in that for a moment, in my tears, in my the heaviness and the sadness. What do I embrace? And when the words came to me, I felt it throughout my body, and I could feel myself stand up stronger. And the words that came to me was, I am to embrace my power. That it doesn't matter what anyone might think, what was swirling around me, the circumstances of my situation. I know who I am. I know what I'm here to do. I know my work. I know my strength. And not only that, it's because it's not really about me. Because I know that if I am doing the work that I am here to do, then everything is added to me. That it's really not even me that does this. It is the spirit within me that does it. And while other people may not understand my vision, or maybe I didn't communicate it clearly, or whatever it was, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I know who I am. And that shifted everything. The whole thing shifted in that moment. And after the process was done, everyone got a chance to go to the bowl and release, and what would they embrace and all of that. And they asked for people to share. So this was my opportunity to stand up then in front of the whole group of ministers and the people who had passed their panels and all of that. And I said, just so you know who I am, and not everybody knew at that point, they did after. I started out by saying, I'm Cindy Grimes, I'm from Ocala, Florida. I am the one person of the 12 who paneled today and did not pass. And I shared with them what I released, the very real feelings and the very real pain and all of that. And I said, and this is what I embrace, and I shared what I just shared with you. That I stand in my power. I know who I am. And I have no judgment. And I know I have no judgment on the people that paneled me. In fact, I am so open to knowing and to the experience, the realization that everything happens for my highest and best good. No matter what it looks like in the moment, no matter what it feels like in the moment, I know this to be the truth. And I don't know how that's all going to show up, but I know that it's going to. And so I released that. And I asked them for prayer. And I just didn't know what to expect, But I was just held in such love and such compassion that allowed me to move through all of the pain and all of that drama in probably like record speed. So it felt good. It felt good to be recognized, and it felt good to be appreciated. And then I got up the next morning and I had to do that workshop. And so even then, it went like waves, It was like, I'm okay. And then I would go into a gathering or I would hear something, and then I came right back down. And like, I want to run and I want to hide. And then I feel okay again. And then I want to run and I want to hide. And this is the last place I want to be, and you are the last people I want to see. And it just kept going like that. And then the workshop. And so what my workshop was called Peace Building 101. And it was about the outreach work that we're doing here at the center. Myself, several of our members, people on our board, several members of our congregation. And the vision that I have for this work is that this peace building work becomes outreach for our larger organization. Right? So like the Catholics, they have Catholic charities. The Seventh-day Adventists, they have hospitals. There are different denominations that have ways that they do outreach within their communities. My vision for Centers for Spiritual Living is that peace-building centers throughout the country become the thing that we are known for. That this is how we show up in the world. Right? We teach this teaching, and we teach it so that people can change their own lives. And as their lives change, the world outside of us changes. But we can be working on that at the same time. Right? We know the principles. We understand how this works. If Peace Building 101 is conflict resolution and understanding social emotional intelligence and restorative justice practices, all of these things which we teach within this peace building movement, if that is Peace Building 101, then Peace Building 102, the next level, is what we teach in here on Sunday mornings and in our classrooms, in our classes, the science of mind teaching. That's the next piece. That's the deeper part of peace building. What I'm talking about is casting a large net, a large wide net, so that people throughout our country, throughout the world, right, can come into our doors, so that they can look at this idea of peace building and know that there is a place they can go. They know that there is a place where people understand this concept of oneness. That there is no one that's better than another, that I see myself in you and you see yourself in me, because we are all part of the greater one. So that's my vision, and I shared with them some of the work I've been doing at the prison, and we did a couple of actual exercises from the work that I've been sharing, and there were people from home office there, and the room was overflowing. There were lots of people in that room, and suddenly I was like the go-to person. And what I realized is that we have said as CSL Ocala in our vision statement that we are a model center for spiritual living. A model center for spiritual living in Little Ocala, as evidenced by the transformational impact we have on our spiritual community, on each and every one of you. On the CSL community, we want to have a transformational impact on the larger community and the community at large. In Ocala, Marion County, Florida. That's our vision. That's part of our vision. And what this situation did, what I went through, was basically catapult me onto the national stage, at least as far as our movement goes. Because people got to see in real time how I used what I know, the principles that I have learned and what I practice to work through that situation. Now I was able to work through the situation again because I practiced this stuff and because I have examples of other people who have gone through their own dramas and their problems and their this and their that and handle it with grace, with incredible wisdom, and I was able to take that with me. That is also what helped me move through this situation. So what I realized through this whole experience was lots of conversation around relevance, around the relevance of our movement, around the relevance of church in general. You know, in Europe, the percentage of people that actually attend a regular church service is very small. I heard it was something like 10% and shrinking every year. The same thing is happening here. The same thing is happening here. Maybe Sunday morning, you know, has been what always worked, but we don't know that that's what is it. In fact, evidence shows that maybe that is not the best way to engage spiritual community and share these messages that we're trying to share. So there's a lot of change, there's a lot of transition, there's a lot of flux going on. And I happen to be standing squarely in the middle of it. I'm in a center doing pulpit ministry. I'm also have my foot in what they call focus ministry with this idea of a peace building center. And is it possible to do both? And what kind of support is needed for both? We don't know. We just don't know. We don't know if this is the way to go. This is why visioning is so important to our movement and to the work that we do. One of the people from our home office was just so wonderfully generous and kind. And what she said to me was, "You're birthing something new. We don't really know what that looks like. But what we want to do for you now is provide you the midwives that are going to help whatever this new thing is come to life." And that was very encouraging for me. In fact, so many pieces, so many conversations with leaders within our movement. I learned that there is a good portion, maybe even up to half, of people within Centers for Spiritual Living and maybe New Thought in general that feel we shouldn't do any kind of social outreach. That this idea of advocacy and doing things outside of our communities is not the best use of our time, or maybe not our time, but of our gift as Centers for Spiritual Living. That what we do is give people the practices, the tools, and the principles to change their lives. And as their lives change, what's out here changes. And that's the idea for a lot of people. They think that the model should be what it has always been in church on Sunday. People come to you. You don't go out there and proselytize. You wait for the folks to come to you, and as their lives change, other things change. Well, then there are the other people who are looking at what's happening in this world. The drama, the trauma, the turmoil, the conflict, and realizing that we do indeed have a tremendous gift. This is why I do the work that I do, because I've seen the change that it makes. I have experienced it for myself. I see what happens when other people get it. So there are those who see the need for social action. There are those who see the need to reach out beyond the walls of our spiritual communities as they exist right now. But how do we marry those two? Do we marry the two? And that is the place where I find myself. So this is my work. This is our work. There is going to be, I don't know how this looks right now. I know that we are in a transition period. I am personally in a transition myself with how much time. Let me scratch that. Let's just say we're going to have a meeting after service next Sunday is the plan. And for those of you who are interested, we can do some visioning, and we will have some conversation about how we continue to make the form of what we teach, the how of the message, relevant to the people that it affects, relevant to the people who are interested, relevant to the people who want to make change in their lives and affecting change in the lives of their families and their larger community. It's not my church. This is not my center. This is our center. This is an idea. If this is indeed an idea in the mind of God, and I believe that it is, then we are here to show up and take that direction. I know one of my prayers is that I am guided and led in all I think, say, and do. And I don't always know what the next step is going to be. But I know that we can create it together. In every moment, the choice is ours. This comes from Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of our movement. In every moment, the choice is ours to embrace our power or give it away. You and I, we have the power to draw upon the great reservoir of infinite wisdom that is capable of solving every problem through the channel of an all-inclusive faith. As I was sitting there hearing, no, you didn't pass your panel, I had to know there is some great gift in here. You all know the story of the kid who, the two kids, they walk into the room and they're expecting a pony. I'm going to tell the story wrong. You know the story about the pony? And the kid that comes into the room and he sees a pile of mess, of poo. He says, well, my pony must be somewhere, right? Who else would create so much mess? There has to be a pony here somewhere. So I'm thinking in the middle of my mess, there has to be a pony here somewhere. Gotta be some. I have the faith, at least. I don't know what it looks like, but I have the faith. The pony's here someplace. So that is the faith. However, such faith is in action only when you have completely surrendered all of your doubt, all of your resentment, and all of your fear. That's when you know you're in your faith. When you can let go, and you don't even know if I know the safety net's there. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how far I have to fall before I hit that net. But I know and believe that the net is there. In every moment, the choice is ours to give our power, to embrace our power, or to give it away. The other thing that I know, is that no one and nothing is ever against me. And that is true for me, that is true for you. That everything that happens in our lives, regardless of what it looks like, whether you think this is how it's supposed to look, this is not how it's supposed to look, it is all for your benefit. And I had to keep telling myself, this is all for my benefit. Conflict and adversity are our midwives. Conflicts arise to get our attention and to help us to find our center and a way back to our wholeness. Conflict actually brings us to our growing edge. I was on my growing edge this week. And I think the way that I handled, the way I was able to go through the situation, the way I was able to lean in on my peers and my support team was actually very helpful for a lot of folks in that room. A lot of people, some of who had been through similar things and didn't handle it quite the same way. So if there's any confusion, and maybe this was part of what happened in my panel, was that the idea that I teach the science of mind, that this teaching is the foundation of everything that I do, whether it's in a peace-building center, or it's at a Toastmaster meeting, or even in my TEDx talk, that I am teaching this teaching, that I am very firmly grounded in this teaching we call the science of mind. So this comes from that textbook at the beginning. What is it that we're about and what do we teach? And Jean Houston wrote the introduction to this book. And I think she gives the essence of this teaching in this one very powerful quote that I'm going to share with you. If I was to state the essence of the teaching of the science of mind, it would be that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. That each and every one of us are the hands and feet, the eyes, the ears, the voice, the mind of spirit itself. Each one of us. Now that's big. And that's not what most of us were taught. Most of us were taught is that there is a power outside of you somewhere. And if you dot all your I's and you cross all your T's and you do everything just the way you're supposed to do, then maybe you'll gain entrance into that place we call heaven. We don't teach that here. We teach you that heaven and hell is right here and it is what you make it. That we are co-creators with the infinite itself. That's what we teach. The highest God and the innermost God is one God. We are therefore the lensing of God's stuff on earth, the focalization of eternity and time. Think of that incredible power, presence, magnificence coming together in this one moment to express through you, through your eyes, through your voice, through your hands. It is Spirit expressing through each. Spirit expresses through each and every one of you, whether you are aware of it or conscious of it or not. What makes the difference is your awareness of it, your understanding, your allowing it to work through you. Consciously or unconsciously, we direct the flow of universal mind into form. Consciously or unconsciously. Most people are doing it unconsciously. We come to a place like this so we can learn how to do it with intention, so we can do it on purpose, so we can create the life that we want to create, not living by default, not living from what everybody else has told you is possible, but from what is possible for you to use the gifts and the abilities and the knowledge and the wisdom that can only express through you in the unique way that it is meant to. This grants us tremendous power, and with it, the innate responsibility to make or break our world through the extraordinary working power of our minds. We get to do that. We get to do that. I am not a victim. I wasn't a victim when I walked into that panel. It didn't go the way I wanted it to, but I was not a victim. There is something probably much greater. I'm sure there is. I know there's something much greater. Because what this did was take little CSL Ocala, and now everybody in the movement knows who we are.
Amen.
Right? Everybody knows who we are. And you know, people are now going to be watching us. They're going to be watching to see, how do we be a model center for spiritual living? How is it that we are engaging our larger community? How are we going to leave our footprint in the organization and how we move forward? What is it that we are creating? What is it that the midwives are going to help us birth here? We're on the map, y'all. We're on the map. And it's the change that happens in each and every one of your lives that is going to be the testament to that. And so I want to thank you all for being a container of love for me. I know that I'm loved. The hardest thing for me in this whole situation was to think, I have to come home. Thank you, sweetie. I have to come home and I have to tell my spiritual community I didn't pass my panel. Oh my gosh. How crazy is that? That was just the pain on my heart. You know? But I know that I'm held in love. And I knew you all would be just astounded, as I was, that this could happen. But I love this place. I love this teaching. If there's ever any question of my commitment, I hope that it's made. that my success is your success. My success is seeing the transformation of the people in this center and the lives that I touch. That's what I'm here to do. I don't have to do this work, y'all. There are many other ways to make a living. I do this because of love and because of my commitment and because I know that it works. So I just ask you, and I hope some of you will stay for that meeting next week as we get to talk about and play. And play. What do we want in spiritual community? What is going to serve you all the best? What is most relevant to you? What is it that you need to make your life, to allow you to express that divinity that's within you to its greatest extent, to its shiniest, prettiest, most sparkly, beautiful life that you want to have? So that takes us to our affirmation.